on to our agenda items. Our first item, meeting minutes from the October 3rd meeting. We are going to move to a future meeting. They needed some revisions, and so we will be reviewing those at another meeting. Good, okay. Conflicts of interest. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest with any of the agenda items tonight?
No.
No.
Neither do I. Next, we have approval of findings of fact. Have the commissioners had the opportunity to review the findings of fact and conclusions for Soccer House LLC, 93 West Woodrow Flag Lot Subdivision, and Addison Vista Subdivision?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the findings of facts and conclusions for Soccer House LLC conditional use permit for 93 West Woodrow Flag Lot Subdivision and Addison Vista Subdivision Amendment as presented.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, wonderful. So agenda item number 4 is approval of the Planning Commission dates for 2025. We received a list of those dates. And in the pre-meeting, there seemed like not really discussion on it.
Yeah, unless you have any questions on it, yeah, I think we can go straight. It's just a business item.
Well, do we need to move for the adoption of those dates?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the Planning Commission meeting dates as presented to us.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, perfect. All right, our agenda item number 5, conditional use permit to allow paramedical tattoo business. Is the applicant here? Great. We'll have a presentation from staff and then we'll have you come up.
Thank you. So here we have a request for a conditional use permit for a paramedical tattoo business at 5784 South, 900 East, Unit 1. So here is the location of the site near 900 East. The building is highlighted in blue. And here is the zoning map. The building is located in the Williamsburg Office Park. It's zoned for CD or commercial development, and it's surrounded by other properties zoned for CD as well. And there are some residential areas nearby. And here is the site plan provided by the applicant. And here's the floor plan showing which unit that the business will take, highlighted in yellow. And aside from making sure that there's a sanitary work environment, there will be no major changes to the building and their unit. And here is our access and parking. There's a shared access point from 900 East, which is circled in red. And 4 parking stalls per 1,000 square feet are required, and so 10 parking stalls are required, and the applicant has provided 24. And 75 notices of this proposal was sent to the public, and staff has not received any comments. And so for our findings, the proposed use for a body art studio is allowed in the CD zone, subject to conditional use permit approval, and with conditions outlined in the staff report, the proposed use and property will comply with the Murray City Land Use Ordinance. And the proposed use is not contrary to the goals and objectives of the Murray City General Plan in this area. And so with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a paramedical tattoo business at this location, subject to the following conditions. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Yes, I have a few little questions, and it's just about numbers. I think the project is a good project, and I think it's a good application. So on the agenda item size in the packet, it lists 0.01 acres is the site. And then on the applicant's application, they list the parcel area as 1.59 acres. Can you clarify the difference there?
Yeah, there must have been a confusion on the, sorry, let me just get to it. It was most likely something that was, they probably had on the site, we had missed and put that it was 0.01 acres when, yeah, the entire site should have been the 1 acre.
Okay, so it's probably 1.59.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was a typo on that one.
Okay, I don't think
And
it's,
is that the building or the site?
That would be the entire property.
site.
Yeah. So what probably happened is that we had clicked on the actual, so each of these are condominiumized out into individual buildings. So these are office condos. So when we would click on the actual office condo, the acreage of that would be 0.01 acres. So that's just something for me to correct.
okay, and I think in this case, that's a minor error because of the next question. So the next question's about numbers and around parking, which is determined by acreage and square foot and all. So on the application, the square foot is listed as 3,870 square foot by the applicant. And then in the report, on the first page, we say it's 3,479 square feet. And then when we talk about parking, we mention 2,547 square feet. So talk to us about the different square feet, please.
Yeah, so when that happens, so when the applicant provides us a number on that, oftentimes they leave those blank. This applicant filled out that number. They are often going off of whatever their
Real estate agent.
landlord says or whatever. But what we do is, this applicant provided a great site plan. So we were actually able to go, measure that building size, which did come out to, I believe, 3,478.95 square feet. So we rounded it up to 3,479 for the building. And so when we calculate parking, we base that off a net usable. Net usable is when we don't know the actual net usable of it, we take an estimation of about 80% of the gross square footage, which resulted in that 2,000 and some change number.
547.
Yeah. So that's why there's differing numbers. But what we did calculate both on the site plan and on the report is the correct numbers.
Excellent, okay.
On a site like this where there's 5 buildings on that site, do you discreetly divide those as far as the number of parking spaces? Do you do it by building?
So originally, what would have happened is that, which gets into a whole new thing, a whole new discussion that I'll address some years down the line. But when these buildings were initially proposed, the parking counts were conducted at that level. Most cities look at these conditional uses, and they say, this was reviewed back when the buildings were built, and so therefore parking's fine. So we would have reviewed that at the time when we
As a site.
approved it, the whole site.
Okay.
But then we also do a double check. And sometimes, especially in the older ones like Garcos and stuff, or like off 150 West and 4800 South, we actually have them provide us with like a copy of their lease agreement to see if they have individual stalls that are assigned to them, if we know that parking is kind of an issue in that area. Does that answer that?
Well, I guess I'm just wondering more, and I'm sorry, it doesn't really apply to this specific application, but in the future, why couldn't we just say this was reviewed when the site, and there have been no changes in the requirements?
Yeah, I would love to go that route. Largely, it's just the way we've done things, and it hasn't been a priority for staff. But if that's the route that the commission wants to take, we can definitely start making those
Well,
adjustments.
I'm not trying to make work.
No.
I'm trying to,
It's
maybe
nothing
make
in
it more
code that
clear.
we have to change or
Yeah.
anything. It's just how we evaluate it as
well, it seems
staff.
a little bit superfluous to go into that
I don't know, though.
level of detail for somebody that just is renting one suite in this whole.
But I feel like the
Complex.
reason we do that is because when this was built in the 50s, there was one car per family, and
Well,
we had a business that
And
was a
that's why I say
beautician
if
with one
there
chair,
hasn't been any changes in the requirements.
and the use or the code requirements, as they're saying? I mean, I'm assuming that things have drastically changed with transportation in the last 50 years. And that's why I'm assuming that that's the process now that we look at it again every time, because there's changes have been occurring. But I could be wrong, but
Well, and that's why I specifically said, as long as there haven't been any changes
Changes
in
in
the
the-
requirement.
Well, it's a confusing situation too, because we say beauty and barber shops require a minimum of 4 parking stalls for every 1,000 square feet, but this unit is 154 square feet, but we're requiring 10 parking spaces. So like, this studio model of barbershops and beauty and estheticians and things like that, I think should even have their own delineation, because they're very specific, right? They don't need 4 spots when you're renting out 154 square feet, you know?
Right.
So that should, I don't know, that could be something that we could look into more, because, and even, you know, tattooing, we had a discussion in the pre-meeting about whether this was tattooing or whether this was more like a med spa or permanent makeup or things like that or whatever. But the trend of all these businesses are that they are going to small, one-on-one, appointment only, you know. So requiring them to even have 4 parking stalls in our ordinance seems like a lot, so.
I agree with that statement in the sense that a while back, we talked about the ordinance for petitions or for a hair.
Beauty and barber
beauty.
services, yeah.
And the suggested at that time was 2 seats were all that's needed. And I went around and talked to my friends who own beauty salons and went to a couple different, got an average, how many customers they have and how many employees they have. And I was arguing that 2 seemed ridiculous for a shop of that size. And now we're saying 10 for a shop that's much smaller.
Well, because it's
Inconsistent.
calculated, and this is a tricky part, right? It's calculated on the net square footage of the entire building, even though she's using 154 square feet of that building. So it doesn't, the parking calculation doesn't really make sense, but that's a bigger, I guess, conversation. Any other questions for staff? Okay, if we could have the applicant come forward.
I think we should have her talk about parking.
I'm sure you
Only
have
kidding.
lots of thoughts about what's being required of you. Thank you so much for being here. Have you had an opportunity to review your 3 conditions?
Yes, I have.
Oh, sorry, yeah, will you state your name and address for the record?
Chandler Messarch,
And an address for the record.
the address where I live or the business.
You can use a
address.
business address or your personal address.
I reside at 1285 West Winchester Street in Murray.
Great. Now, I'll ask you, have you had an opportunity to review the 3 conditions?
Yes.
And you'll be able to comply with those?
Yes.
Is there any additional information you'd like to give us about your project? Because I know we were in the pre-meeting talking a little bit about just exactly what medical tattooing is.
I don't know, other than answering questions, maybe I would just share a brief, it's newer-ish, and I think that as it evolves, I'm sure we'll see lots of changes as to whether it's regulated more under aesthetics or under tattooing. It's actually really interesting because the service that I will be offering as it currently stands is really considered right now under tattooing. However, if I were to do the same service but not include pigmented ink, that would fall under an esthetician license. So it is kind of a weird
That's kind of what we.
middle ground right
Yeah,
now.
we were.
You
I
don't
was
have
just
to
going to
be
say,
licensed.
this turned on all the lights,
Yeah.
and now it all makes
So
sense.
you don't have to be licensed in this particular practice,
Correct,
but you would if you weren't using ink.
correct, which is kind of, doesn't
It's
make
very
a whole lot of
confusing.
sense.
Because we were saying too, yeah, if one of the reasons that beauty and estheticians don't have to come forward to the Plan Commission is because they are licensed through the state. And so the licensing kind of takes care of that. And then the tattooing, that's why it's coming before us.
That's
And
why
what's
we're pulling you
even
through
better
the
is that
keyhole.
in my research, most esthetician programs don't even train on that service anyways, which is another interesting, it's just newer.
Right.
And so it's not,
You're kind of in this in-between.
a little bit of
area.
limbo.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, and we've even had conversations as a commission about some of our tattooing in ordinance requirements and codes and things like that that we maybe, should look at and review. So is there any commission or questions from the commission for the applicant?
I appreciate your contribution to our discussion because you hit the nail on the head with your answer, so.
Yeah, and thank you for being here. We know this was maybe kind of some extra steps to being able to get your business license. And
I
stuff.
learned a lot,
We appreciate it.
that's for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
At this time, I will open the public comment portion regarding this item. If there's anyone that would like to make a public comment. I'm guessing we've had no online
I've had
comments.
about 25 comments. No, I'm just kidding. No.
It's going to be fun to read those all in.
And they're all about parking.
Yeah, and they're all about parking.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period and bring it back for discussion or a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a paramedical tattoo business at the property location 5784 South, 900 East, number 1, subject to the following 3 conditions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hacker and a second by Commissioner Hursto to approve the conditional use permit to allow the operation of a paramedical tattoo business at the property located at 5784 South 900 East, number 1, subject to the 3 conditions. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we can call for a vote.
Awesome. Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Hursto,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Thank you for being here tonight. Congratulations on your approval and good luck with your business.
Where do you want this report?
Just right there is fine. We'll pick it up. Thank you. Thank you for filling
Appreciate
out
that.
the one.
Yeah.
Sole participant.
As our only person here. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 6, Planning Commission compensation.
Yeah, hi. This is a text amendment to amend the code to allow for amending the compensation of the Planning Commission. So it's actually written in our code exactly how much you guys will receive as compensation for each meeting. We did some research. If you remember, I think it was in 2021, I think we bumped it up from $25 a meeting to $40 a meeting. It actually might have been 2019, because I think Phil was still here. So, so we bumped it up. Our Community and Economic Development Director, Phil Markham, was reviewing the budget and found that there was an excess in the budget. And calculated it out, and an extra $10 is not going to affect that budget at all. He was going to go just take it to the city council, and I told him to pump the brakes. This is in the zoning code, so we have to take it before you guys as a body. We did do a little bit of research, just looking at other cities across the Wasatch Front, as shown here. This has been updated to 2024. Largely kind of right in the middle, doing about $50. So we sent notices to the affected entities because it is a text amendment. So
Who are the affected entities?
So affected entities are anybody, typically it's like the surrounding cities. And then we also send them to like utility companies. So like Comcast, for example, got a notice that we were changing our code. So largely, I mean, we send all text amendments to affected entities so that they're aware of any changes. So, so we send it to all utility companies, the ditch companies, things like that.
That question, that answer might be indirectly or directly related to one of my questions. Where does the budget come from? So it might be tax dollars that those entities are paying into? or a budget that pays us?
Oh, yes, it comes out of the general fund. So that's the just general taxes received from the city. And then, it's allocated out to, so you would be in like the CED division, actually. or department, CED department, and then under the planning division, we have our own budget that then has a line item for planning commission pay.
Does the city council compensation come out of that same fund?
It does come out of the general fund, yep. They have their own
Line item.
thing, though. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of the presentation, I was just sitting here, I'm like, questions, and then no. So findings, the proposed text amendment to compensate planning commissioners with reimbursement for expense incurred in the performance of their official duties is reasonable, and the proposed determination by the office of the mayor with approval by the city council during the annual budget process is in harmony with the current practices for establishing other rates and fees of the city. So with that, we are recommending that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to update Chapter 17.12.070 of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance as presented. I'm happy to answer questions.
Since we're talking about our own budget and how we are reimbursed, I think we should throw out a little bit of details out there. So I'm most comfortable with being in the middle. When we have your research of other cities who are also paying, I'd like that we're in the middle, not the top and not the bottom. And I'd like to, just for sake of discussion, throw out there, what is this $50? About how much time does the planning commissioner spend per meeting on average? I know we don't have exact numbers. You've never asked me to report the numbers,
Right.
but
Yeah, so I mean, typically that compensation goes for a number of things. I know that you guys drive here, so it helps contribute to gas. It helps contribute to your guys' site visits. I know a lot of you actually go out and look. So that is also, site visits. You're getting packets that you have to read, which probably takes a little bit of time, varying degrees of time depending on the applications. And also your time spent here at the actual meeting. So it's more than just being here at this meeting. You guys do a lot of work outside that. We require you guys to do other things outside. We ask that you guys watch videos or things, or you guys attend trainings, all that fun stuff. So you guys do more than just sit up here and quote unquote rubber stamp applications. So that's largely what that's to help do.
yeah, I appreciate that because I think, we probably put at least, I think it'd be fair to say 4 hours into meetings. So we're probably just saying it's $11 an hour. We're not overpaid.
Yeah.
I think it's just enough to keep us encouraged to really do our best.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'd like to make a motion if not.
Do we need
No,
to
I-
have a public comment? Okay. Do you have-
Listening to Lisa's comments, I think pre-meeting work, looking at the agenda, as Zach said, going out doing some site visits, pre-meeting, meeting. And not every meeting is even an hour long, but some meetings are several
4
hours long. It seems $11 an hour,
$12.50, whatever it
pretty
is.
reasonable,
Maybe my math was off. Maybe it's more like $12.50, but
so.
Okay, if there's no more questions for staff, then I will open the public comment portion for this agenda item. Have we got any online? Okay, seeing none in the room. I'll close the public comment period and bring it back for a motion or discussion.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion?
Yes?
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we forward a motion of recommendation for approval to the City Council for the request to update Chapter 17.12.070 for the Planning Commission compensation of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance as presented here.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Malkovich and a second by Commissioner Henry to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to update Chapter 17.12.070, Planning Commission compensation of the Murray City Land Use Ordinance as presented by staff. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we can call for a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hursto,
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker,
I was going to make you say it twice. Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Okay.
I just noticed that there were 3 H's in a row, so I'm sitting there writing your names down. I'm like, hey, wait.
That's true. Okay, is there any other business?
It's a busy December, or no, it's an easy November 21st, a busy December 5th. So, yeah, about 2 items for November 21st, but probably 5, I think, for December 5th, and we still have a week before the application deadline closes.
Normally see this time of year,
No,
is there any seasonality to it?
it kind of comes and, no, yeah, it doesn't, I mean, I think what you're seeing is probably interest rates now coming down, so people are now feeling more confident in doing things. They're actually, I think in theory, the December one should be pretty easy. Yeah, it's like a new restaurant.
And we do have a meeting scheduled for the 19th of December.
That's a
Oh,
third.
yes, sorry, December, yes. So far, we do have one scheduled for that. Hopefully, I can maybe cancel that one, but we will see. We'll see what comes along. I don't have a lot in the works at the moment.
I mean, if there's no items, I still think we should get together and have dinner because that'll be the last chance for Maren and I to do that with you.
You have to
True.
meet at the first one in January.
Oh,
You
okay.
guys aren't done until the second meeting in January.
Oh, okay.
And which one do we, on the second meeting, we
The first
choo-
meeting you
choose
vote
a
in
new
the new
chairman?
chair, yeah, right?
I don't remember. I'll have to look. But I think you do probably pick the chair in the first meeting, and then the second meeting they preside.
Okay.
And who is that going to be?
I
Yeah.
don't know, you're gonna have some new commissioners,
Well,
so.
that's why
Yep.
Oh, new
I was
commissioners.
tentatively not going to be here on the 2nd of January,
Well,
but
Okay.
maybe I should change that.
New commissioners. Mr. Muller, new commissioners, how's that going? I've talked to 4 different people in my neighborhood and only one's been excited.
Okay.
And she was going to bring her name and talk to you guys. I told her your contact and she was going to contact you.
Nobody reached out to me, but I think we have interviewed,
Oh,
and I think there is one that we've recommended up to the mayor's office.
so that's happened.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately up to the mayor to make the appointment.
Yeah. District. Don't ask me what number.
3.
3, yeah.
Yep.
35
And
in the House,
you're
3.
At larger district.
District.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
District 5, your District 2, 3. Ned is 1. Pete is
4.
4.
That's all that's left.
Yeah, and then 2 at-larges. I think Jake is actually the official District 1. I think Ned is at-large.
Could be. I was at large initially.
Michael's
Yeah.
at large, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no further business, then I call for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Wait, what?
Oh,
At?
7:01.
Thank you.
7:01.
Second?
Second.
Okay, meeting adjourned.